Alastair Hagger, who coordinated the local installation of what was a worldwide project, tells us about the objectives of Shakespeare in Botswana.
Well, Shakespeare Lives in Botswana is part of a much wider global project which is sponsored by the Great Britain campaign. It's a UK government project, and that global project is called Shakespeare Lives, and that's run by the British Council and is celebrating the 400th anniversary of Shakespeare's death, celebrating his work on the anniversary of 400th anniversary of his death this year on April 23rd. So Shakespeare Tshela is the Botswana arm of that project, if you like. The aim of the Great campaign is to promote the UK as a great place to work and study and do business. The aims of Shakespeare Lives, is, especially in Botswana, is to expose teachers and students to Shakespeare's work, and to give them the skills where they can perform, not just Shakespeare, but drama, but for the teachers, obviously, to give them teaching skills that will enable them to get their students more involved in the performance side of Shakespeare's texts, because they are government school texts, of course. Rather than just reading them in a classroom from the book, which we've all experienced, especially my generation. It's to kind of inspire teachers to get the kids up in the classroom and performing Shakespeare, and to develop their understanding of those texts through performance.
So what were the learnings from that entire project as you were the project director?
Personally, the big learning for me was that I had a preconception that perhaps there would be more resistance to the language, there would be more resistance to Shakespeare, that it would be difficult to convince people to come on board with this project. Actually, the opposite is true. And what I learned, I suspected this, but what I learned as a fact now is that young people are not afraid of anything. You know, it's when you get older, with something like Shakespeare, it's seen as difficult, and when you get older, and that's when people start to move away from it, probably because, like I said, for my generation, I have good memories of studying Shakespeare, but I don't remember ever having stood up in a classroom and performed it as part of the learning process. So people of my generation, probably around the world, have that kind of memory of it being a bit dusty and a bit kind of other. And but here, it's young people, especially 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, they don't come to it with that kind of preconception. So you've got them, and they're fearless, and the language is not a problem. Even if there are certain words or phrases they don't really understand, they embrace it, they're fine with it, and especially when they perform it, they get the meaning of it through the performance. So that was a very moving thing for me to see that happen, where kids just attacked it and enjoyed it. So that was a big learning for me.
But with regards to the broader learnings, what you'll be filing away in that report, yes. What did you discover?
The engagement from government schools was fantastic. There are a lot of really tremendously passionate literature teachers, and we worked with 5 different government schools. 6 if you include the school we worked with up in Maru. And the engagement there from literature teachers was really extraordinary. So there's a lot of passion for learning, for drama, and for Shakespeare within the school. So that really gives us something to work with in the future. We know that here, for BGCSE, students get a choice whether to take literature or not. And it tends to be mostly girls who take that option. Some of the groups of students were all girls. Some of the other groups there'll be 2 or 3 boys. So that's something I think long term we would look to try to change and get more of a balance there. I mean, it's something that happens across the arts, actually, especially in Africa, where it's seen as a bit of a feminine thing to do, to go into the arts. So that would be something that we would like to address in the future, I think. But the most powerful thing really was that you can create theatre from nothing. All you need is a space and some people and an idea, and then you have theatre. So we saw people doing that in really remarkable and interesting and innovative ways. And so that proved what I had thought, that you don't need to have anything in particular. You don't necessarily need a lot of funding. And I hope that message got across to everybody that we worked with, that theatre really is about community, and that's where it gets its power. The production of quality artists is happening already. I mean, you look at someone like Tefo Paya. I mean, you could put him on any stage anywhere in the world, and he would hold his own. So there's certainly talent. what Botswana needs to look at is how do you hang on to that talent and make sure they don't leave Botswana. And the only way to hang on to that talent is to have an industry which will support those artists. So, you have places like AFTA, that college there, who are developing this next generation of people who are going to be involved in the industry. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a generation or two, I think. But what it needs is the support of artists themselves, understanding that it's going to take time, things aren't going to happen overnight. Perhaps movement away from the little bit of the celebrity culture that's happening in all over Africa, where things like The Voice, not saying anything against those programs, The Voice and American Idol seem to be seen as a shortcut to celebrity. And celebrity is a very different thing from art. They're completely different things. So people who have talent, they really need to ask themselves, do you want to be a celebrity or do you want to be an artist? They're not the same thing. And if you want to be an artist, you're going to have to struggle a little bit. Get a full-time job if you can, pay the bills, do your art in your free time. That's what artists have done for thousands of years. So it's a commitment, but it's a commitment to something which is very important in human life. So I don't think there's a better commitment that you could make.
But what role is there really for theatre and drama in 21st century Botswana specifically, before we even head to the broader world? Yeah.
Theatre and art at its best is about people, and who is not interested in people, let's face it. So it's relevant to everywhere. But in a developing country like Botswana, the creative economy is going to be very, very important for the future. And we are seeing the seeds of that now in Botswana. There is a passionate community of artists and performers who want things to happen. And when you have that will, and you have the kind of people who are passionate about making that happen, then amazing things can happen. So it's about community and it's about ideas, and if you look at it ruthlessly, it's about business, because the creative economy is worth billions to the UK economy, for example. And there's no reason why the creative economy couldn't be a huge revenue stream for Botswana as well.
Do you think there's an appreciation of the potential that the creative economy holds for the country?
Well, to give you an example, this theatre we're in now, Mighty Song, for our Shakespeare Lives in a Botswana showcase event. This theatre holds 450 people, and we had 600 in here, so it was absolutely packed. So that shows you that there is an appetite, there is an audience, and it's about developing that audience, and it's up to the community of artists now that's growing so quickly to really think about ways they can develop that audience and network and talk to each other and think about all the different possibilities of bringing people together in an arts community. So yes, I think it's at the very early stages, but there's no reason why you can't dream big.